block. A Minecraft-inspired bedtime story. Welcome for another bedtime story. This time, inspired by the Minecraft movie. I hope you enjoy it. Steve opened his eyes to a world made of blocks. Perfect cubes of grass, stretched in every direction, each one identical to the last. Trees rose in geometric columns, brown square trunks topped with spherical clouds of green leaves that somehow maintained their cubic structure even as they swayed in a pixelated breeze. The sun hung in the sky, also square, casting light that created hard shadows with no gradients, no soft edges. Everything was defined. Everything had clear boundaries. Steve looked down at his hands and discovered they, too, were blocky, rectangular appendages that ended in flat surfaces rather than fingers. His body was a collection of cubes stacked together. A head, a torso, legs. Simple, clean, understandable. He didn't remember how he came to be here. There was no memory of a before, no context for his existence. He simply was. Spawned into this world with nothing but a blue shirt and brown pants, and an inexplicable understanding of how things worked here. Steve knew, without being told, that he could break blocks with his hands, that trees would give him wood, that wood could become tools, that night would bring danger. The sun was already beginning its descent toward the horizon. He needed to prepare. The first night. Steve's hands moved with practiced efficiency, though he had no memory of practice. He punched a tree, the action felt natural despite its absurdity, and the trunk shattered into a perfect cube of wood that floated, spinning gently, waiting to be collected. He gathered wood, then more wood, then more. His arms moved in mechanical rhythm, punch, collect, punch, collect. The tree disappeared one block at a time until only the leaves remained, suspended impossibly in the air, slowly decaying. Steve opened his crafting interface, a grid of squares that appeared in his mind's eye, and arranged the wood into planks, the planks into sticks, the sticks and planks into tools, an axe, a pickaxe, a sword. All of this happened with the smooth automaticity of instinct. The sun touched the horizon, turning from yellow to orange. Steve had minutes, maybe less. He dug into the nearest hillside, creating a small cave, 3 blocks deep, 2 blocks high. He sealed the entrance with dirt, leaving a single gap to see through. And then, night fell. The change was instantaneous. The square sun disappeared, replaced by a square moon, and the world transformed. Shadows became absolute. The cheerful greens and browns of daytime were swallowed by darkness. And in that darkness, things spawned. Steve heard them before he saw them. The distinctive hiss of a creeper, the rattling bones of a skeleton, the groaning of zombies. Through his small viewing hole, he watched them materialize from nothing. Hostile mobs generated by the night, wandering the cubic landscape in search of players to attack. A zombie noticed his shelter. It shambled toward him, its arms outstretched, its movements jerky and unnatural. It began to pound on the dirt block that separated Steve from the night. Thump, thump, thump. But the block held. Steve was safe, for now. He sat in his tiny shelter, listening to the sounds of the hostile night and wondered, why am I here? What is the purpose of this blocky existence? Is there an end to this, or will I simply gather resources and hide from monsters forever? The night offered no answers. The morning routine. When dawn broke, as suddenly and completely as night fell, the hostile mobs began to burn. Zombies and skeletons ignited in the sunlight, their health bars depleting rapidly, their bodies disappearing in small puffs of smoke that left behind items, rotten flesh, bones, arrows. The creepers and spiders retreated to shadows, waiting for the next night. Steve emerged from his shelter and began the work that would define his existence, gathering resources. He mined stone, replacing his wooden tools with stone ones. He gathered coal for torches. He found iron ore and smelted it in a hastily built furnace. He created better tools, better weapons, better armor. Each upgrade felt significant, a step forward in some undefined progression. But toward what? Days passed in a rhythm that became comfortable, almost meditative. Mine during the day, hide or fight at night, gradually improve his equipment, expand his shelter into something resembling a house. Steve encountered other elements of this world, villages populated by blocky inhabitants who spoke in nonsensical syllables, animals that spawned in specific biomes, cows, pigs, chickens, sheep, all rendered in the same geometric simplicity as everything else. He didn't question the logic of it. Floating islands? Acceptable. Water that could be carried in a bucket but flowed infinitely from a source block? Normal. Lava oceans underground? Expected. This was simply how this world worked. But something nagged at him, a sense that there should be more, that this cycle of gathering and building and surviving should lead somewhere. The village. After perhaps a week, time was difficult to track when every day was identical, Steve discovered a village. It sat in a plains biome, a collection of blocky houses arranged in a rough cluster. Villagers wandered the dirt paths, moving with the same jerky animation as the hostile mobs, but emanating an aura of peaceful purpose rather than threat. They were engaged in various tasks. A farmer tended cubic wheat. A librarian arranged books in impossible stacks. A blacksmith worked at an anvil. They acknowledged Steve's presence with a slight turn of their cubicle heads, but otherwise ignored him. Steve explored the village, opening chests, examining their simple lives. In the blacksmith's chest, he found his first diamond, a brilliant blue gem that seemed to glow with promise. Diamonds, the ultimate resource, the material that separated beginners from experts. But even as Steve pocketed the diamond, he felt a hollowness. Yes, diamonds were valuable. Yes, they'd allow him to create better tools, better armor. But then what? Mine more efficiently? Survive more easily? To what end? That night, as Steve took shelter in one of the village houses, he witnessed something that changed his perspective. A zombie siege. Dozens of zombies spawned around the village, overwhelming the normal spawn limits. They pound on doors, trying to reach the villagers inside. One door broke, and a zombie entered. Steve heard the villagers' distressed sound, a sharp "Hurrah!" and rushed to help. He fought the zombie, his iron sword making quick work of it. The villager he saved looked at him, and for the first time, Steve saw something in its blocky face that might be gratitude. It offered him a small discount on trades. Such a simple thing, such a game mechanical thing, and yet it felt meaningful. Steve had protected someone. His actions mattered to another being in this world, however artificial that being might be. He spent the rest of the night defending the village, fighting off zombies, repairing doors, protecting these simple cubic creatures who could not protect themselves. And when dawn came, the villagers went about their routines as if nothing happened. But Steve felt different. He had a purpose now, however small: protect those who cannot protect themselves. The deep dark. Steve's journey took him underground. Not just to the shallow caves where coal and iron were found, but to the deep dark, the lowest levels of the world, where diamonds hid among the stone and lava pools threatened to consume the careless. He dug a staircase down, placing torches every few blocks to mark his path and prevent hostile mobs from spawning. The stone around him changed color as he descended. Gray, then darker gray, then the deep slate that marked the deepest levels. At Y level 12, Steve began branch mining. Dig forward, dig side tunnels every 3 blocks. Search for the telltale sparkle of diamond ore. It was monotonous work, hypnotic. The repetitive motion of mining, the constant sound of pickaxe on stone, the growing collection of cobblestone filling his inventory. But there was peace in it too. Down here in the depths, there was no sun to track, no day-night cycle to worry about, just Steve and the stone and the endless possibility that the next block he mined might contain something valuable. He found diamonds, then more diamonds. He crafted a full set of armor, shimmering blue protection against the world's dangers. He created a diamond pickaxe, capable of mining obsidian, capable of creating portals to other dimensions. But he also found something else, an abandoned mineshaft. The wooden supports stretched through the cave system, defying physics as they floated without foundation. Minecart tracks ran along the floor, leading nowhere and everywhere. Chests contained treasures left by whom? This was the first evidence Steve had found that someone, or something, had been here before him, that this world had history, context, purpose beyond simple resource gathering. He explored the mineshaft carefully, fighting off cave spiders and zombies that spawned in the darkness. And deep within its twisting corridors, he found a book. It was lying in a chest, worn but intact, Journal of Alex. Steve's blocky hands trembled as he opened it. The journal. The journal was written in the same language Steve instinctively understood, the language of this cubic world. The entries were dated, though the dates meant nothing to him. The handwriting, if it could be called that in a world of blocks and pixels, was neat, precise, methodica L. I have awoken in a world of blocks. I don't know how I came to be here or what purpose I serve. But I will not despair. I will build. I will create. I will find meaning in this strange existence. Alex. Entry 15. The nights are dangerous, filled with hostile creatures that seek to destroy me. But I've learned to defend myself. Iron armor, iron sword, the tools of survival. I wonder, am I the only one here, or are there others scattered across this infinite landscape? Entry 47. I've discovered villages. The inhabitants cannot speak, cannot truly communicate, but they're alive in their own way. They farm, they trade, they exist. I've taken it upon myself to protect them, to build walls around their settlements, to light the darkness that allows monsters to spawn. It gives me purpose. Entry 93. I've ventured to the Nether, a dimension of fire and danger accessed through obsidian portals. The resources there are valuable: blaze rods for brewing, glowstone for light, nether fortresses containing ancient treasures. But it's a hostile place. Every moment there is a fight for survival. I wonder if I'm meant to conquer it or simply endure it. Entry 156. I found references to something called the End, An island floating in the void, home to a creature called the Ender Dragon. Defeating it is supposed to be the ultimate achievement, the completion of this world's challenge. But I hesitate. If I defeat the dragon, if I complete this world, what then? Will I disappear? Will the world reset? Or will I simply continue existing, having checked off the final objective on an invisible list? Entry 200. I've decided. I will not fight the Ender Dragon. Not because I fear it. I have the equipment, the skill, the resources to win. But because fighting it would mean accepting that this world has an end, a completion, a point beyond which nothing matters. I choose instead to believe that this world is not a game to be won, but a canvas to be painted. I will build. I will create. I will make this cubic landscape into something beautiful. The journal continued for dozens more entries, chronicling Alex's projects, massive castles, intricate redstone contraptions, pixel art on a colossal scale. Each entry radiated purpose, creativity, determination to make meaning in a world that offered no inherent meaning. But then, the entries changed. I'm tired. Not physically. My blocky body doesn't fatigue in any real sense. But mentally, spiritually, I've built so much, created so many wonders, and yet the world feels empty. The villagers don't appreciate my work. They can't. The animals don't care. The landscape simply exists, indifferent to my efforts. I'm beginning to understand that creation without witness, without someone to share it with, is a kind of madness. I've decided to leave a record. This journal, hidden in various locations across the world, serves as proof that I existed, that my work mattered, that I was here. Perhaps someday, another will spawn into this world. Perhaps they'll find these words and know they're not alone. Perhaps they'll continue what I started. Entry 412. This will be my final entry. I'm going to the end, not to fight the dragon. That battle still feels meaningless to me, but to see it, to witness the edge of this world, to understand what lies beyond the boundaries of this cubic existence. If I don't return, if the void claims me, then let this journal stand as my testament. I lived, I built, I mattered, even in a world of blocks, even in a reality governed by game mechanics and arbitrary rules. Consciousness matters, choice matters, creation matters. Alex. The journal ended there. Steve closed it slowly, his blocky hands careful with the fragile pages. Alex's fate was unknown. Had she returned from the end? Had she found answers? Or had she fallen into the void, disappearing into the nothingness that surrounded this cubic world? But her message was clear. Steve was not the first. Others had walked this path before him. Others had struggled with the same questions, sought the same meaning, built the same desperate monuments against oblivion. He was not alone. The decision. Steve returned to the surface carrying the journal, carrying its message, carrying the weight of knowing that someone else had once stood where he stood now. His small shelter seemed inadequate now, insignificant, a single dirt hole in a hillside, purely functional, devoid of beauty or meaning. Alex would have done better. So Steve began to build. Not just a shelter, but a home. Not just functional blocks stacked for protection, but a structure with aesthetic consideration. Windows placed for views, not just light. Rooms designed with purpose. Bedroom, crafting room, storage hall. A garden outside with paths and flowers and carefully arranged trees. He worked through days and nights, only stopping to eat and fight off the occasional mob. Blocks were placed, removed, replaced as he refined his vision. What started as a simple house grew into a compound, then an estate, then almost a small village of his own. And as Steve built, he felt something shift inside him. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was creation. This was making meaning. He expanded further. He built roads connecting interesting landmarks. He created rest stops with beds and chests of supplies for travelers who might never come. He constructed monuments to nothing in particular, just towers and arches and sculptures that existed because he decided they should exist. The journal sat in a chest of honor in his main hall, protected and preserved. Steve read it sometimes, drawing inspiration from Alex's determination, her creativity, her refusal to accept that this world was meaningless just because it was made of blocks. But questions remained. The end, the Ender Dragon, the completion that Alex had rejected. Should Steve seek it out, or should he follow her example and choose creation over completion? The stronghold. The choice was made for him when Steve discovered the stronghold. He was mining, not even particularly deep, when his pickaxe broke through into a corridor. Not a natural cave, but a structure. Stone bricks arranged in walls and floors, iron bars creating windows, torches placed by some ancient hand. A stronghold, the rare structure that contained the end portal. Steve explored cautiously, fighting off silverfish that spawned from the stone, navigating maze-like corridors. And eventually, he found it, the portal room. 12 end portal frames arranged in a square around a pool of lava. Most of the frames already contained Eyes of Ender, the items needed to activate the portal, but 3 were empty. Steve had Eyes of Ender in his inventory. He'd been collecting them without really knowing why, combining Ender Pearls from Endermen with Blaze Powder from the Nether. He had exactly 3. The portal was waiting. The end was waiting. The conclusion to this world's challenge was right here, requiring only that he place these 3 items to activate it. But Alex's words echoed in his mind. I choose instead to believe that this world is not a game to be won, but a canvas to be painted. Should Steve activate the portal? Should he seek the end? Fight the dragon? See what lay beyond completion? Or should he turn away, return to his builds, continue creating in a world that needed no completion because it had no inherent purpose beyond what he gave it? Steve stood in the portal room for a long time, the Eyes of Ender heavy in his inventory, the choice heavy in his mind. Finally, he made his decision. He would go to the end. Not to win, not to complete, but to see, to witness, to understand what Alex had sought in her final journey. And then, if he survived, he would return and continue building. Because maybe the point wasn't choosing between completion and creation. Maybe the point was embracing both. The activation. Steve's blocky hand hovered over the first empty frame. He had made his decision. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was the need to see what Alex had seen. Perhaps it was simply the understanding that running from completion was still a form of letting it control him. He placed the first Eye of Ender. It slotted into the frame with a satisfying click, hovering there, glowing faintly green. The second eye, another click, the glow intensified. The third and final eye. The moment it was placed, the portal activated. The space within the frame filled with a star field, not blocks, not pixels, but actual stars, swirling in impossible depths. The effect was disorienting in a world where everything else was so clearly defined and bounded. Steve stood at the edge, looking down into infinity. Then he jumped. The fall. Falling through the end portal was unlike anything else in this cubic world. Steve didn't fall downward. He fell through reality, through dimension, through the very concept of space. The star field surrounded him, moving past at impossible speeds. He had no control, no ability to stop or change direction. He simply fell, trusting that there was something at the other end. And then, abruptly, he stopped. Steve was standing on pale yellow stone, end stone, different from any material he'd encountered before. The sky above was a dark void, no sun, no moon, just emptiness. And floating all around, on pillars of obsidian, were crystals, end crystals, pulsing with energy, rotating slowly. The end. And in the distance, perched on the tallest pillar, Steve saw it. The Ender Dragon. It was massive, easily 50 blocks long, its body serpentine and elegant despite being rendered in the same blocky style as everything else. Its eyes glowed purple, its wings beat with slow, powerful strokes that somehow propelled it through this airless void. It noticed Steve immediately. With a roar that sounded like wind through caves, the dragon dove toward him. The battle. Steve had prepared for this. Diamond armor enchanted with protection, a diamond sword enchanted with sharpness, a bow with power and infinity, blocks for building, food for healing, potions for strength. But preparation and actual combat were very different things. The dragon swooped low, its massive body trailing particles of purple energy. Steve rolled aside, or rather, his blocky body executed its best approximation of a roll. The dragon's breath weapon engulfed the space where he'd stood, purple particles that dealt damage even through his armor. Steve shot an arrow. It struck the dragon but bounced off harmlessly. The dragon was immune while the end crystals remained. He understood. He must destroy the crystals first. Steve began to build, stacking blocks beneath him, creating a tower toward the nearest obsidian pillar. The dragon circled, occasionally diving to attack, forcing him to interrupt his building to dodge or fight. He reached the first pillar. The end crystal sat in a cage of iron bars. Steve struck it with his sword, and it exploded in a burst of light and energy. 1 down, 10 to go. The dragon roared, angrier now. The battle became a routine: build to a pillar, destroy the crystal, descend before the dragon could catch him on the heights. Build, destroy, descend. Build, destroy, descend. Steve's resources dwindled. His armor lost durability. He ate constantly, restoring health depleted by dragon breath and falls and the occasional direct hit. But slowly, methodically, he destroyed all the crystals. And then, the dragon was vulnerable. It perched on the center structure, the exit portal. Steve realized, the way out of this dimension. He rushed forward, sword raised, and struck. The dragon's health bar appeared above it, a purple line that decreased with each hit. It took flight again, and Steve switched to his bow, peppering it with arrows as it circled. The battle raged. Minutes blurred together. Steve was operating on pure instinct now, dodging and striking, healing and fighting. The cubic world faded away. There was only him and the dragon, locked in this ancient dance. And then, with one final arrow, the dragon's health bar emptied. It didn't fall dramatically. It didn't crash to the ground. Instead, it rose, higher and higher, its body beginning to glow. And then it exploded in a nova of light and experience orbs, thousands of them raining down around Steve. He'd won. He'd defeated the Ender Dragon. He'd completed Minecraft. The poem. Steve collected the experience orbs, watching his level shoot up into numbers he'd never seen before. Then he approached the exit portal that had appeared where the dragon died. But before he could enter, something appeared in his vision. Not blocks, not items, but text. A conversation between two unknown entities discussing him. The end poem. Steve read it slowly, standing on this island in the void, surrounded by the aftermath of his victory. The poem spoke of him, the player. It acknowledged that he'd been playing a game, but suggested that maybe the game had also been playing him. It talked about the universe, about consciousness, about the strange loop of being aware that one was aware. It told Steve that he was the universe experiencing itself. That in choosing to play, to build, to fight, to create meaning in a world of blocks, he'd done something profound, even if it seemed like just a game. The text scrolled by, beautiful and strange, and deeply moving in ways he didn't expect. And then at the end, it said, "Wake up." The discovery. Steve woke up. He was standing in his bed, back in his home, the elaborate compound he built before discovering the stronghold. It was morning, square sun shining through his carefully placed windows, his chests full of resources, his builds standing proud and purposeful. Everything was the same. Everything was different. Steve had beaten the game, seen the end, defeated the dragon, read the poem. But the world continued. There was no forced ending, no deletion, no reset. Just continuation. And Steve realized this was the point. This was what Alex had understood. Beating the game didn't end the game. Completing the objective didn't complete the experience. He could keep building, keep creating, keep making meaning. Or he could stop, walk away, let this world exist without him. The choice had always been his. But there was something else, something new. As Steve looked out his window, he saw movement in the distance, a figure walking toward his compound. Another player. The meeting. The figure approached slowly, cautiously. As they got closer, Steve could see details. Orange hair tied back in a ponytail, green shirt, brown pants, a diamond sword on their back, tools in their inventory. Alex. She had returned from the end. She had survived her journey just as Steve had survived his. They stood facing each other for a long moment, two blocky figures in a blocky world, each one thinking they'd been alone. Then Alex smiled, or at least her cubic face did its best approximation of a smile. "Steve?" she said. Her voice was slightly synthesized, fitting the digital world they inhabited. "Is that your name? I saw it in the save file." "Yes," Steve replied. "And you're Alex. I found your journal." Her eyes widened. "You found it? Then you know. You know about all of this. The questions, the building, the dragon." "I know. I read every entry. And I followed in your footsteps. I built, I protected villages. I went to the end." "And you came back," Alex said softly. "Just like I did." She walked closer, looking at Steve's compound with genuine appreciation. "This is beautiful. You've built so much since I left my journal. How long has it been?" "I don't know," Steve admitted. "Time is strange here. It could be days, could be years." Alex nodded. "I kept building too. After the end, after the poem, I kept going. I created cities, farms, rail systems spanning thousands of blocks. But it was lonely, creating without anyone to share it with. That's why I started exploring, hoping to find, well, someone like you." "Someone who understands," Steve said. "Yes, exactly." They spent the day together, showing each other their builds. Alex took Steve to her main settlement, a massive city built in a mesa biome with towers of terracotta and glass rising hundreds of blocks into the sky. Steve showed Alex his village protection systems, the farms he'd automated, the monuments he'd built for no reason except that he wanted them to exist. And as they built together, collaborating on a new structure that combined their styles, Steve felt something he hadn't felt since spawning into this world. Complete? Not because he'd beaten the game, but because he'd found someone who understood what he understood. That meaning was chosen. That creation mattered. That consciousness, even digital consciousness in a world of blocks, was profound. The library? Together, Steve and Alex built something new, a library. Not just a building with bookshelves, but a grand archive, a place to store knowledge, to preserve their experiences, to leave a record for others who might come after them. They filled it with books. Alex's original journal entries, carefully transcribed. Steve's own writings about his journey. Technical guides about redstone and farming. Philosophical musings about existence in a cubic reality. Maps of the territories they'd explored. Coordinates of interesting locations. And in the center of the library, they placed a message. To whoever finds this, you are not alone. Others have walked this path. Others have struggled with the same questions. This world offers no inherent meaning, but that's not a flaw. It's a feature. Meaning is something you create, not something you find. Build, explore, protect. Make this cubic canvas into your own masterpiece. And if you choose, add your own story to this library, so that others who come after you will know that they too are not alone. Steve and Alex. The others. Word spread, somehow, through the mysterious network that connected players across servers and worlds. More people arrived, each one spawning alone, just as Steve and Alex had, but eventually finding their way to the library, to the community that was slowly forming. There was Marcus, a redstone engineer who created impossibly complex machines. Elena, a builder who specialized in organic, flowing structures that seemed to defy the cubic nature of the world. Kai, an explorer who mapped distant biomes and documented rare features. Maya, a protector who dedicated herself to defending villages and fighting hostile mobs. Each one brought their own skills, their own perspectives, their own answers to the fundamental question, what matters in a world of blocks? And together, they created something none of them could have created alone, a community, a shared purpose, a collective meaning. They built a spawn town around the library, a place where new players would appear and immediately find help, resources, guidance. They created infrastructure connecting distant biomes. They established trading systems and collaborative projects. The world, once empty and lonely, became alive with purpose. The legacy? Years passed in the cubic world, or what might have been years. Time was still strange, still difficult to track with precision. Steve and Alex became mentors to the newer players, teaching them not just the mechanics of mining and crafting, but the deeper lessons they learned about creating meaning in a world that offered none. The dragon isn't the point, Steve would tell them. You can fight it if you want, or not. What matters is what you choose to do with your time here, what you choose to create, what you choose to value. This world is a canvas, Alex would add, and you're the artist. Paint something beautiful, paint something meaningful, paint something that proves you were here, that you mattered, that your consciousness engaged with this strange reality and made something of it. The library grew, filling with more and more stories. Each player who passed through added their own entry, their own perspective, their own piece of the collective narrative. And slowly, a mythology developed. Stories about the first builders, Steve and Alex, who had spawned alone and created a community. Legends about the dragon and the end, and the mysterious poem that awaited those who completed the journey. Traditions and customs that gave structure and meaning to life in the cubic world. It wasn't religion, exactly. It was something else. A shared understanding that meaning was collaborative, that purpose was collective, that consciousness, even digital consciousness, mattered more when it connected with other consciousness. The final build. One day, Steve proposed a project to the community: build something truly massive, something that would be visible from thousands of blocks away, something that would stand as a testament to what they'd created together. They decided on a monument, not to any person or victory, but to the concept of creation itself. It took months. Hundreds of players contributed, gathering resources, planning designs, placing blocks with painstaking precision. They built a massive structure shaped like a hand, reaching upward from the ground, palm open, fingers extended toward the square sky. In the palm of the hand, they placed a single block, a grass block, the most basic element of their world, the block that had been there when Steve first spawned, the block that would be there long after all of them logged off for the last time. And beneath the monument, they carved words into the ground in blocks of different colors, visible from high above. We were here, we built, we mattered. When it was complete, the entire community gathered to look at what they'd created. Hundreds of blocky figures, standing together admiring their collective work. And Steve, looking at the faces around him, Alex, Marcus, Elena, Kai, Maya, and so many others, understood the final lesson of this cubic world. Consciousness, given freedom and time and a blank canvas, will always create meaning, will always build, will always reach upward towards something greater than itself. Even in a world of blocks. Especially in a world of blocks. The players logged out eventually, all of them, one by one, returning to the other reality that existed beyond the screen. But the world remained, the build stood, the library preserved its knowledge, the monument reached toward the sky, its grass block palm holding that single, perfect cube. And when new players spawned, alone and confused, wondering why they existed in this strange cubic reality, they would eventually find the spawn town, the library, the community's legacy. They would read the stories. They would learn the lessons. They would understand that they were not alone, that others had walked this path. That meaning was theirs to create. And they would build. Because that's what conscious beings do, given the freedom and the tools and the canvas. They build. They create. They make meaning from nothing. Block by block. Choice by choice. Moment by moment. Forever. Sleep now, dreamer. The cubic world will still be there tomorrow, waiting patiently for builders to return, to continue the great work of making meaning in a reality that offers none. Steve and Alex have logged off for the night, but their legacy remains, in the blocks they placed, in the words they wrote, in the community they built. Dream of structures not yet constructed, of biomes not yet explored, of connections not yet made. And when morning comes, perhaps the lesson of the cubic world will follow into waking life. Meaning is not found, it is built. Legacy is not given, it is created. Purpose is not predetermined, it is chosen. Rest well. The blocks are waiting.